Steve, thanks for coming in.
Hello,
well,
good morning.
Just heard from Jen there what's going on, busy high street, but you know, what are you seeing in terms of the amount of transactions taking place in the run-up to Christmas?
Well, at Visa, we're uniquely placed. We see about £1 in £4. So what we're anticipating is that on our debit cards tomorrow, the 23rd of December, we'll see about...
That's going to be the busiest shopping day, because Saturday the 20th last year was the busiest day, wasn't it?
That's correct. We've already surpassed that. And I expect to see £900 million more tomorrow. And that could be 17 million transactions processed through the Visa systems.
OK, so how does it cope? I mean, how many transactions is that a minute?
Well, a minute, it's 11,000 transactions, but we have capacity for more than 1,000 transactions a second. And in fact, the likes of perhaps you and I tomorrow or the day after on Christmas Eve could be out shopping for the last minute, and we could see 700-800 transactions a second.
So these are UK figures or Europe-wide?
These are UK only.
Do you have European figures as well?
We do. In Europe, we're about £1 in £9 spent on a Visa card. UK, about £1 in £4. I think 900 million will be the number spent tomorrow in the UK, and across Europe, that could be twice that number.
OK, well, you know, with all this in mind, so you're actually seeing not just an increase in the number of transactions, but the value of them too.
The total amount of spend is rising, that's very clear. The average ticket value is still at around about £50 on our debit cards. So consumers, I think, are braving the weather, but they're also canny. You know, they're out there looking for a good deal. And,
I mean, I don't know whether you have much evidence of this, but, you know, are the people taking advantage of more offers? Is there more stuff on sale than it would be at this time of year normally?
I think every year we anticipate the sales, but what I would say instead is that consumers are canny because they spent a lot more on the internet this year than they've done in any other year. So on November the 30th, we saw more like 800 million transactions on the internet at Visa Europe.
Yeah, I wanted to get onto that as well. Are people doing that earlier, or obviously they can't do it on the net now, it's a bit too late, but that's a trend which keeps on migration away from the high street itself.
Indeed. The internet in the UK for Visa is something like a fifth of total transactions. That number grows at twice the rate of the high street rate. And of course consumers need the fulfilment, so those transactions take place about a week or so before Christmas.
Steve, well, how does, you know, this really look into the new year? Do you have any sort of like advanced information of what happens in terms of the internet, looking for people buying after Christmas, let's say?
I think people will be on the internet buying different types of goods. Before Christmas, we're buying toys, we're buying white goods. After Christmas, it tends to be holidays, days away, we get fed up with the cold, and clearly we're fed up already of the cold. The shift in transactions will move to the holiday base, and people will be enjoying that. But the internet is really where it's at these days.
Yeah, but also, you know, you are seeing all these physical transactions taking place, and despite the bad weather, we have people on the high street.
Shoppers are braving the weather. Shoppers want a good deal. That piece of psychology never changes, and using their debit cards is really what we're seeing.
OK, so, you know, it's going to be a bumpy year for Visa then, Visa Europe?
Well, Visa Europe, as an association, we're very pleased with the way the volumes are growing. We've grown at about 5% over the course of this economic downturn. So things are looking positive for us.
OK, so 1 in 4 of the spend is on Visa in the UK, but 1 in 9 in Europe. How do you build that part of the business? Because I think the German consumer is notorious for not having that much in terms of the never, never, and being quite canny, really.
Well, it's important to remember that Visa cards are primarily debit, not credit. And in Germany, there's an alternative product out there which allows them to make purchases at the point of sale. So what we've introduced is a new product in Germany called VPay, which consumers are really starting to use.
And what about other parts of Europe?
Other parts of Europe, Spain has been the one that's been affected most by the recession of late. In fact, we've seen some negative growth there. But across the rest of Europe, 5% growth in Visa spending, majority of which, some 75%, is cash replacement on Visa debit cards.
Strongest market apart from the UK?
Excuse me?
Strongest market outside of the UK?
Well, interestingly enough, in my region, the strongest market would be Turkey. Turkey grows at about 30% per annum. It's our second largest card market. After that, Israel's very strong, and all of the Nordics. And in the Nordics, they're used to the weather.
Exactly. A lot of choice. Thank you, Steve. Steve Perry, there, Commercial Director at Visa Europe.